Now for this month's special series on ReachMD, focus on future medicine. We're looking ahead to pivotal breakthroughs and technologies that will transform healthcare in the coming years.
How does a busy practitioner keep up with new medical treatments, diagnostic tests, medical journals, clinical trials, and find a rapid reference with answers to clinical questions using the latest evidence-based medicine? It's time to take a new look at your PDA. You're listening to ReachMD XM 160, the channel for medical professionals. Welcome to the Clinicians Roundtable. I'm PA Lisa D'Andrea Lenell, your host, and with me today is Allan Platt. Allan is a physician assistant and clinical instructor at Emory University School of Medicine, Atlanta, Georgia, and the author of Evidence-Based Medicine for PDAs, a guide for practice. Today we're discussing the PDA and what you need to know to make it your best clinical tool. Hi, Allan. Welcome to ReachMD.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Allan, I'm sure there are many practitioners out there who don't have a PDA. Why should they get one?
Oh, it's definitely time. I think with the advent of the cell phone PDA, and I think most PAs are carrying cell phones now, the technology is getting so good, so quick, and for fairly low cost that it's time to really look at these devices and what you can do with them. You can carry the equivalent of a medical library on your hip and have fast reference that's up to date and ready for you to keep learning and help your patients.
Well, the market is changing, and like all technology, people are uncertain about what to buy and when to buy. So let's go through some of the basics. If I want to buy a PDA or have access to these references, what is my first step in deciding what to buy?
I think the very first thing is you want a device that you're going to use and that you're going to have on you, wearing. If your PDA is in your locker, in your purse, or at your house, it's just of no use. So the first thing to do is pick a device that is useful for you and is easy for you to use. And like I said, I think with the advent of the cell phone, most people wear their cell phone. So the combination of a cell phone PDA is what I'd recommend, killing two birds with one stone.
Well, how do I decide whether I'd like a separate PDA and a cell phone or combine them both on my cell phone?
I think you ought to go to the stores and play. First thing you want to do is have a good cell phone provider. So if you don't get good cell service, forget it. So pick a good cell service and one that's reliable and you can get your phone calls. Then go to the store and say, okay, tell me what PDA cell phones you have, and play with them. Now, you have to know a lot of the sales clerks don't even know what a PDA is. So you do have to do some research ahead of time, and there are several places on the net you can go to get reviews, like CNET and PC World. We call those the geek resources. But the book is a good place to start, but the technology is changing so quickly, there's probably a new cell phone PDA coming out every week.
So let's talk about them separately. Let's start with the cell phone PDA. Right now, everyone's looking at iPhone. How does iPhone supply the medical information that we need?
iPhone is a really hot item. It's the number one, I think, selling cell phone PDA worldwide and in the U.S. And it is a really nice piece of technology. However, the medical developers haven't caught up with the technology yet, so you won't find the really quality medical programs that you need yet. I think it's coming, but it's just not here today. But again, you can do probably about 50% of the medical things you could do. The best phone I would recommend right now today would be a Windows Mobile PDA that can give you the best variety of medical software and the best PDA cell phone.
So if I decide to buy a PDA and not a phone, talk to me about the different operating systems.
If you just want a PDA without the phone, there's really, three major players. Palm has been the leader for medical software, but the thing about Palm is they've made a radical announcement and departure from their operating system, and their new operating system won't be backward compatible, so all that software that's been developed won't work on their new stuff. So Palm I can't recommend at this minute. It's been my favorite, but I'm going to put them on the back burner. Windows Mobile has been always catching up to Palm, but I think they've arrived, and now they're the giant as far as medical software. So at this moment, I would say Windows Mobile still is the PDA you would want to get. The new and up-and-coming, I think, whiz of technology would be the iPod Touch, which is an iPhone without the phone.
And how much memory do I need?
Oh, you want the most memory for the buck. I say the most you can cram in there, the better. Like the iPod Touch comes with 8 gigs to 32 gigs of space, and that's the equivalent of, we're talking 200 medical textbooks, easy. And you don't need that much. But if you want to do movies, you want to do pictures, you want to do audio, those things are big. And so the most memory you can get. And memory is falling in price and getting smaller and more accessible. So again, the most you can get for your device, the better.
Do we need wireless?
Wireless is an iffy thing. If you have it, it's great. But most medical places aren't Wi-Fi. And if they are, they may be protected. Again, most hospitals don't have that capability. On university campuses where students are, it is a Wi-Fi environment. And that is very helpful for doing free surfing on the Internet with your PDA. But like I said, most places where you're taking care of patients may not have wireless. And you may be dependent on standalone applications, or you have to have the cell service with a data plan, which can get pretty expensive.
All right, so back to the smartphone. What smartphones use Windows Mobile?
There's so many. And, what I do is, again, pick your provider first. Then go to the store and say, okay, what do you offer? And you want to pick the one that, feels right to you, looks like it would be easy to use. Make sure the screen looks good to you. It's sort of like buying a PC. There's so many out on the market. And basically, I'd say get the most bang for your buck. Go to the store and play with them and pick the one that works for you.
And what about costs? What's the range of costs for these?
The cost for device, if you're just getting a straight PDA, a good one for Windows Mobile, it runs about $250, $260. So that's about the sweet spot. For the phone, it all depends on, again, your contract, and they give you deep discounts if you do the 2-year contract. So you may be paying anywhere from $50 to $150 if you were buying the phone just outright with no cell.
So, Allan, I have a PDA, and I use Epocrates all day long. Now, I know that there are a couple different integrated programs like that. Can you explain what those are and how they work?
The integrated programs have several features that you use on a day-by-day clinical minute. So they're designed by clinicians to give you the answers to the questions you ask most. And I think Epocrates has been the world leader as far as drug information. They offer a free drug database, but they have a subscription program with the Epocrates Essentials that has several, I would say, smaller programs within the big one. They took the best-selling textbook, the 5-Minute Clinical Consult, and integrated that with their drug database. They added herbal medicines, a symptom analyzer, laboratory reference, and an infectious disease reference, and made that all bundled together so it all works very quickly, and it's continually updated without you having to get involved, which is a really neat thing. It continuously feeds you new information. So to me, that's right now the killer app for medicine. It's pretty much fed to you, and you don't have to do a lot of work to get the information that you need on a minute-by-minute basis.
So I can go on and get the Epocrates for free. So do you think it's worth it to pay extra for the Epocrates Essentials?
Yes, I do. I think, again, as with getting the bundle together, especially with that 5-minute clinical consult and there's a symptom analyzer that is completely awesome. That combination is worth paying for.
Now, can I get Epocrates and 5-minute clinical consult put on my iPod?
Well, the new iPod version of Epocrates Essentials is not the same as the one for Palm and Windows Mobile. I've played with both. And the text they use is from the British Medical Journal, BMJ. It's a good text, but it's not 5-minute consult. The iPod version does not have the symptom analyzer, and it's missing several parts that are in the classical one, so I wouldn't recommend it at this time.
So let's talk about how these work. So if I get the Epocrates Essentials, I pay a yearly fee?
Yes, and what happens is for a complete year, every time you sync your PDA to your computer or wirelessly, they're feeding you updated information. So you're never with a product that doesn't have the latest drug information, the latest diagnostic. information. So to me, that's why it's so valuable. I don't have to think about it. It's coming to me automatically.
Let's talk about medical references. How do you purchase these?
Again, this depends on your specialty. There's some big medical textbook companies that have basically taken the textbooks and made them electronic versions that fit on a PDA. And the leaders in this is Skyscape and Unbound Medicine. And what I would recommend is you pick one of those two book companies that has the most references for your specialty, and you would stay with that book company and buy all your references. That means you'd have one book reader, and the books kind of talk to each other with interlinking, which means if you see a topic that's highlighted, you could tap on it, and it takes you right into another book. So that's why I'd recommend it. Those two companies, go look at their list of, it's a pretty extensive list of books that normally you would buy in paper form. They have PDA versions.
And do you have a favorite between the two companies?
I think Skyscape by far has the most. They're the biggest in the market. So if you want the most variety, I'd start there first.
And tell us about readers. In the past, I've bought software and then I don't have the appropriate reader, and sometimes I can't find it. How do I keep myself from running into that problem?
I think if you stay with the two book companies and buy the books from those, you'll be okay. A lot of people have written free handouts and free kind of help guides that use various forms of readers, and that's what gets confusing. So I think with a lot of that free stuff out there, you may have to, pick and choose amongst the readers. So to keep it simple, I pretty much stay with the classic textbooks and use the one reader of the company that I stick with.
So let's talk about memory. I have a memory card on my PDA, but none of these applications will go on my memory card, and every time I sync, their programs get larger and larger, and my memory gets smaller and smaller. What is your suggestion to solve that problem?
Again, when you buy your PDA, you want the most internal memory, and again, the devices are getting more and more for less and less. So that's improving. Plus, the developers are now allowing you to put content over onto memory cards. Like even Hippocrates allows kind of a half and half deal now, that half the program resides on your main memory and half on the memory card. But the big publishers all give you an option to store stuff on memory cards now. So it is becoming much more widely used, where you can keep adding memory through the memory cards and you won't keep filling up your internal memory.
All right, so let's expand it from the individual to the office setting or to a hospital setting. Everyone in the office has a PDA. How can I get these subscriptions on the entire office?
Again, a lot of these companies will work with groups, so it always pays to get a bunch together and go call the company. And most of these companies have group sales, so you can work at a discount. So I would not take face value, but do some negotiating. And the more people you can get together, maybe you can get 2 or 3 groups that work in the same hospital together and say, hey, let's go as a group to the company and see if we can't get a discount. So I'd always negotiate first, because the companies are willing to work with big groups. If they can just get one check with everybody contributing, it makes it easy for them, and they're willing to cut the price down for you.
Tell us about video phone telemedicine. Is that happening right now?
When most of the cell phone PDAs have cameras on them where you can actually do video at pretty good resolution and take pictures, I think that may play a bigger role in the future. There's a patient confidentiality issue, which, again, hasn't been worked out totally with the PDAs, so I would, keep a caution flag there. But the cool thing would be you could be in a remote site and be seeing a lesion, be able to take a picture with your phone and transmit that to a consultant miles and miles away and get instant feedback on what's going on. So I do see that as a potential tool. I don't think it's being used as much as it could be.
Well, thank you, Allan, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm PA Lisa D'Andrea Lenell, and you've been listening to the Clinicians Roundtable on ReachMD XM 160, the channel for medical professionals. Please visit our website at reachmd.com, which features our entire library through on-demand podcasts. And thanks for listening.
You've been listening to this month's special series, Focus on Future Medicine. For a program guide and a complete list of shows, please visit us at reachmd.com. And download ReachMD's iPhone app, Medical Radio, to listen to the same live stream of ReachMD medical news and information you enjoy on XM 160, plus CME and thousands of searchable podcasts. Download Medical Radio from the Apple iTunes Store today.